Hi friends, welcome to the next installment of Powerful Peace video. I'm still Rob DuBois, the author of Powerful Peace, the Navy SEALs Lessons on Peace from a Lifetime at War. And we've moved out of the ASOP, A Summer of Powerful Peace, those 90 days that surrounded the early release of Powerful Peace based on market demand. We haven't even yet got into the early October release date, the official release date that was originally scheduled. And that's kind of fun because we're going to be having a big wave of books hitting the stands at all the brick and mortar places soon, which right now isn't happening because it's all virtual. The stores are trying to keep up or catch up to the online availability of Powerful Peace. I wanted to move into this next phase with a quick reading from the introduction of Powerful Peace, sort of the Reader's Digest condensed version of the introduction of Powerful Peace. Introduction, subtitled Surreal and So Real. The death of Osama bin Laden at the hands of my fellow SEALs closed a transformative decade-long chapter of my own life. As you will read, my deployed platoon was actively involved in the global war on terror from the very first minutes of the September 11th attacks. 10 years later, other SEALs closed the book on bin Laden's hate-filled existence. We have reached the time for the world to look for and work for a better and safer and brighter future together. This future demands new thinking. The vicious cycle of escalating violence is not inevitable, but it can seem to be the default setting for our species. The stakes are rising, and we need to get much, much smarter to rewrite our self-destructive second nature and preempt the next bin Laden. His life was marked by a cancerous hatred which ultimately left him hiding, isolated in a physical and emotional prison of his own making. Through the persistent corrosion of his own choices, he ultimately rendered himself unable to stroll outside the fortress that became his home, unable to run downtown on a simple errand, and when was not cooperating, and unable even to chat with his neighbors in a carefree, life-giving moment of human connection. Such years of non-life should serve as a valuable lesson to those of us who still draw breath and desire lives worth living. Choices matter. Our viewpoint is informed by our experiences, and our experiences are created in part by our decisions. Decisions about where to be, what to learn, and with whom to spend time. Bin Laden was committed to being the self-appointed judge, jury, and executioner of strangers worldwide. Although the scale of his destruction was rare in its excess, it reflects a common pattern of human conflict. He became fixed on the righteousness of his beliefs to a tragically absurd extreme that harmed innocence. His obsession cost the lives of thousands, caused the suffering of hundreds of thousands, fostered animosity and violence toward millions of those he claimed to defend, and irrevocably paved the road to his own final moment and a bullet in the face. This larger-than-life founder of a murderous movement finished his days as a washed-up old man hunched in stocking cap and blanket, locked away and peering wistfully at news clips of himself from more significant, more relevant days. I feel no pity for the terrorist who died in that compound in Pakistan, but I'm heartbroken for the child he once was, and the man he could have been. In the beginning, even Osama bin Laden was an innocent infant. Through a series of external events and internal decisions, he became the monster we remember. Ridiculous and tragic wars between global powers rise and fall on the same variables. At some point along the way, he didn't have to become the Osama bin Laden of future history books. With the vast resources he was born to inherit, he could have improved many lives rather than destroy. Also, and without apology for the unimaginable pain inflicted by this mass murderer, he and his followers did not carry out the attacks of 9/11 in a social or psychological vacuum. You will read about legitimate grievances which have been hijacked for grossly illegitimate purposes. I'm no stranger to conflict, hate, and violence, as you will read in Powerful Peace, and you may be surprised to accept that in balanced peacemaking there are occasions for necessary violence. But this isn't about me, it's not about bin Laden. It's about all of us. In stories from our lifetimes at war, you can read stories of yourself and your loved ones. We all have a great deal in common, and that's the key to balanced peacemaking. In fact, I'll ask you to express more of your own story as we go along through our network at peacehawks.org and in your ongoing personal commitment to make peace wherever you stand. You might even help write future books on Powerful Peace, which is really just the first of many stories in making the world a little safer for all. This book is for young men and women stepping out into the world, for good people interested in helping their neighborhoods, for the yet untested and the veterans of war and other foreign service, and for leaders of armies and governments across the globe, perhaps especially for this last group. It is for believers from any faith and for those who believe in none. It is also for citizens of nations about whom much is assumed but little is understood, and for nations like the United States, to whom much has been given and from whom much is justifiably expected. This book is intended to offer a voice to all, to open a dialogue for clarity that can contribute to peace and teach us the lessons of balanced peacemaking. We can no longer disregard balance with so much on the line. We can choose fearless and civil discourse at this critical juncture in history. The alternative is to sit by while technological strides and ideological divides rip the world apart. That is the middle part of the introduction of Powerful Peace. There's more to follow, more good stuff coming up. I want to get back into this tomorrow so that we can enjoy it in chunks and not take up too much time today. So without further ado, let me break away from this conversation and let's get on with the rest of our weekend. Just had a fantastic event here in D.C. at Americans for Tax Reform as the gracious host for the Powerful Peace book tour, or book event, with signing and terrific engagement. Met some amazing people, and in fact met in person many of the tweeps I've never had the privilege of talking to face-to-face, fellows and followers on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. So this is a new era for all of us, and let's do the best we can to make something worthwhile from this point forward.